Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm looking at our attendees list and it's mounting. So we're starting at 6 p.m. Good evening to all of our teacher educators, educational support persons, curriculum officers, everybody who's within the education space who is joining us this evening. I always like to start with a quick sound check. So I suppose through the chat or any other way, could you give me an indication, everyone, that you're hearing me before I start to introduce myself? All right, so I'm seeing thumbs up all around the room. Awesome. Great. Okay, so if you were with us with webinar one, welcome back. If you were not with us for webinar one, let me begin to introduce this setup. We have launched our OECS Learning Hub Professional Development Series. I'm seeing a raised hand already. Maybe we are having some technical difficulties. I'm seeing a raised hand, okay, from several persons, and the hands have disappeared. All right. So if you would like to share a technical difficulty, you can raise your hand and I can let you have the floor for a second. All right. So as I was saying, welcome back to those of you who joined us for webinar one. For those of you who are not with webinar one, this is now the second webinar of our OECS Learning Hub webinar series where we look at, we give you a taste of some of the wonderful tools, those tools that we have that are available for teachers to use on the OECS Learning Hub. I am Clendon Bissett, the technical specialist, full stack developer, the technical lead for many of the platforms that we have on the within the OECS digital learning ecosystem. And for some of our member states, you would already be familiar with the OECS Learning Hub. If you're not, you're going to get an additional, I'm going to get a look into what it's all about. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. First of all, we have moved from the last webinar into a full webinar setup. So we're able to get a lot more of our attendees into the room. But it also means that there's going to be a few more restrictions. And those restrictions would be that you would need to raise your hand during the question and answer session, and then I would then allow you to speak. Probably I'll make one of my co-hosts, but I make one of my panelists a co-host so they can help me with that feature as well. So if you have questions, you can type them in the chat box, although at the end of the webinar, at the end of the presentation, the demonstrations, we will have a question and answer session. So you will be able to ask your questions and basically, get yourself heard and your concerns heard and questions answered. So again, welcome to webinar 2 of the OECS Learning Hub Professional Development Series. Thank you for joining us. Now, I know many of you are coming from a full day of teaching, and we appreciate you taking the time to continue to build your digital teaching skills with us. Tonight's focus is going to be on the assessment and data tools within the OECS Learning Hub. And we're excited to show you these tools and how these tools can support your everyday classroom practice. Now, of course, the recording for webinar one is on our webinar page. If you received an invitation to this webinar, you would also have received an idea of the link to the page. If not, I'll drop it in the chat in a while. But in our first webinar in February, we focused on lesson planning.
Sorry, Clement. I don't think the slides have been displayed.
Let me make sure that my sharing is enabled. Thank you, Taniel.
Yeah, we're not seeing on your end. Now we're seeing.
Okay. Are you also hearing me? No, I think.
Yes, we are. We are hearing you.
Okay, so you're seeing my slides and you're hearing me. All right, great. Um, Tennille, are you also able to see the participant list?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Are you able to allow the participants to speak? I see I have one raised hand from Annette Stevens, so I'm not sure if she's having a little difficulty. Um, are you able to do that for me? Okay, the hand has disappeared. I think persons are just getting familiar with the setup on Zoom. All right, so you're seeing my screen and you're hearing me, so let's proceed. So like I was saying, building on webinar one, where we focused on lesson planning and how the Learning Hub can support you as teachers in developing strong instructional plans. We looked at the AI-enabled lesson planner. We looked at the lesson reviewer and the lesson review process, and some of the key considerations when planning effective lessons. So one of our colleagues, Selma, went through that with us. And then we also looked at AI considerations when using some of our AI tools and generally when using AI tools. But as teachers, planning is only one part of the process. So once we teach the lesson, we now need to ensure that we measure the learning, that we understand student performance. And when we do that, we can then go ahead and we can adjust instruction. And that's exactly what tonight's session is about, this evening session is about. So assessment is a natural extension or natural progression from lesson planning. We plan the lesson, we teach it, and then we need to understand a few things. Did the students actually learn what we intended? So assessment allows us to be able to identify the gaps in learning, understand some of the misconceptions, and then adjust our instruction accordingly. Now, the Learning Hub provides some tools that makes this process faster, easier, and more insightful for some of us teachers. So in this session, we're actually going to walk through some of the tools together, and you will see how teachers can create a quiz quickly using the quiz maker, share it with students, collect responses, and immediately view student performance data. And we'll also demonstrate how you can generate a rubric for assessment, which helps support clear and consistent evaluation. Now, before I go any further, let me introduce our primary facilitator for this evening. Last webinar, we had Selma with us and Tennille. And tonight, we have with us our colleague from the Spice Isle of Grenada, Mr. John L. Mitchell. So John L. is going to introduce himself briefly before we jump any further into content. Go ahead, John L.
Thank you very much, Glendon. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, educators who are here present. As Glendon has rightly said, I'm from the Spice Isle, Pure Grenada, and journeying through this digital platform has been rather eye-opening. There are so many things to learn. There are so many things that can help us here as educators. And tonight, as we explore, I want to take you on a journey with me, with us, not just a journey to any place, but a journey that is going to seek to enhance teaching and learning, and how we as educators can use the tools that are available to us to ensure that our students, those placed in our care, can truly get the best out of the whole aspect of teaching and learning. So indeed, I'm happy to be here, to be a part of this process, to share with you, and to just have great dialogue as we move along. Thanks, Glendon.
All right. Thank you, Jonel. And as usual, before we jump into the exciting stuff and doing things on the Learning Hub, we usually want to spend some time talking about, the whole concepts, some of the insightful concepts that lead into the tools that we build. And often the question is always, why digital assessment tools? Why do we want to generate digital assessment tools in any case? Now, as teachers, we spend a lot of time creating assessments. And digital assessment tools are made to simplify this process and provide additional advantages. So they allow us to create assessments quickly. They give students immediate feedback, and they are able to provide data that helps us to understand how our students are actually performing. So one major benefit of these tools is speed and efficiency. Now, often people look at the speed aspect, but don't look at the efficiency aspect. And the efficiency aspect is particularly important. How much quality work can you get done in less time? Not how much work you can get done in less time, but how much quality work you can get done in less time. So teachers can quickly create quizzes or assessments that can be used before a lesson, during a lesson, or even after instruction. Now, this makes it easier to integrate our assessments directly into our everyday teaching. Feedback, immediate feedback, is always extremely powerful. And even not immediate, but feedback itself is always needed and powerful. Students don't have to wait days to know how they performed. They can do a quiz online and they can see the results of that quiz almost immediately. So they can receive instant feedback, which helps them to understand their strengths and those areas that they need to improve on. And at the same time, it helps as an early warning system for teachers to be able to see where students may actually be struggling. Now, beyond the individual scores, digital tools can actually provide valuable data insights. So teachers can begin to see patterns in students' responses, identify which questions students struggle with, and even gain a clearer picture of the overall class performance. So this information will actually help teachers to make informed instructional decisions. And the tools we will look at and Jonelle will be demonstrating tonight can actually support multiple types of assessment. So teachers can use them for diagnostic assessments before a lesson, as we said, formative assessments during learning, or even summative assessments at the end of a unit. And then you can also create or generate rubrics that will support your evaluation efforts. So make your evaluation efforts clear and consistent. Okay? So that being said, we're going to move into the demonstrations of 3 tools in action. Okay, we're going to look at we're going to look at the demonstration of how a quiz can be created, shared, and analyzed in real time. We're going to look at generation of rubrics and also a quick look into one of our data analysis tools. So for that, I am now going to hand you over to our capable facilitator, Jonelle, who's going to walk you through, and then we'll come back in after all is said and done for some questions and answers. Over to you, Jonelle.
Thank you once again, Glendon, and let's go on that journey at this moment. So kindly allow me to share my screen for a minute. Glendon, you need to stop sharing so I can share.
Okay, I've stopped. Are you able to?
Thank you. Yes, I
All
am.
right.
Okay, just someone kindly indicate to us whether or not you're seeing my screen.
Yes, we're seeing participants. If you're seeing, just give us a thumbs up.
Okay, wonderful.
All
Thank
right.
you very much. Now, as Glendon has spoken and has brought you through this process so far, this is the interface that's our original dashboard. When you get into it, But to access these tools, we need to go into the area marked innovative tools. Innovative tools. Now, he spoke about the quiz generation. Let me just quickly highlight before we will be looking at this one here, quiz generation, where it says create a quiz. But sometime later down in another webinar, we are going to look at the Pearl Interactive Quiz Maker, where you are going to get deeper, far deeper insights into the whole aspect of quick, immediate feedback. So that's the interactive one that's going to come under the content maker. Later down, you're going to get more information there. But for now, we are going to dive into the quiz generation. So as I click on that here, and I come quickly into it, before I start populating the areas, there are some things I want you to quickly identify. And this is probably one of the greatest challenges for teachers in our classroom. Looking at the cognitive levels. So many times, teachers have challenges writing or creating questions across the levels of Bloom's taxonomy, where we move from knowledge right up to the whole aspect of synthesis, sorry. So here, this presents to you a perfect opportunity to support your teaching and learning. Additionally, not only supporting your teaching and learning, but as we are aware, as a teacher teaches, as you create that blueprint for teaching, you know the levels at which you teach your children. And therefore, when you want to assess them, you want to be able to set questions at these varying levels so that you have students responding across the levels of the taxonomy. I just quickly wanted to highlight that here. So let's go right on. First of all, we need to select our subject. I am going to jump into language arts. Math is my favorite, but for the language people on here, I'm going to jump into language arts. And let's say I select grade 5. We go into grade 5. What's one of our learning outcomes? Where do we get our learning outcomes? We pull our learning outcomes from the digital platform, from the PDF document that is there. So we explore the PDF document, you go into all the areas there, whatever area or scope of work you're teaching, you pull it from there. So what I quickly did, I went ahead and I pulled one, and we are going to look at identifying the different parts of speech. So the learning outcome that we're going to look at here is basically dealing with parts of speech. So we quickly put that in. You can copy, you can paste, you can type it in. Whatsoever you choose to do, it's all up to you. So we want to identify the different parts of speech. So that's what we'll be doing. Now, here you need to select your different question type. But before I go on, this platform here allows you to do at least up to 30 questions. You can do less, but it gives you a maximum of 30 questions. And as Clennon highlighted, if you just want a quick diagnostic to find out where your students are, you may just need about 5 questions. As you go through in your formative aspect, you select another 5 or 2 or 3. It's up to you. And then for your summative aspect, so you decide the number of questions. But for this platform here now, I'm going to select different areas. So we have the multiple choice. One of the things you must do is to indicate the number of multiple choice questions you want. So I'm going to go at 5. Open-ended. Let's say I go at 2 open-ended questions here. We have true and false. Let's say I select another 5. So that's 12 questions altogether already. And then we also have fill in the blanks. Let's say I also do 5. So altogether here, we have 17 questions. Now, one of the things you have to ensure across the cognitive levels, you must select 17 altogether. So it must complement the amount of questions that we've chosen. We want to ensure that the needs of every student is met. So just for this case, I'm going to select all of the areas. So those knowledge questions, let's say I hit us with at least 4 knowledge questions, comprehension, I give you 5, so that's 9. Remember, we're going at 17. I give you 3 application. That's heaven phone, and that's 12. I give you 2 analysis. That's 14. Give you 2 synthesis. Let me just break it down. And 1 evaluation. So let's just cross-check to make sure that we have everything in place. So 5, 10, 15, and 2 is 17. 4, 7, 9, 14, 16, 17. Do you want to put a time limit? If not, if yes, you can put the amount of seconds that you want to take altogether, or you can just leave it open. Do you want to randomize the question? Do you want to mix up? Do you want all true and false by itself? You can choose to do that. All multiple choice by itself, you can choose to do that. Or you want to randomize? Of course you can. Now within our setting, if we're doing multiple choice, we do multiple choice, then we move to true and false. We keep it that way. What do I do next? Simple. Note how quick it's taking me to make that quiz. No long time. And again, across all levels, I generate my quiz. It's going to take a couple seconds to generate. Once it's finished, it's going to give you the cue. So it says your quiz has been generated and is ready for review. And it's beautiful. Note what it says, generated and ready for review. So this is my quiz down here. This is what it's going to look like, just like that here. However, if I want to edit it, so I generated the quiz and I'm not too satisfied with the responses. And this is the beauty of it here. While yes, AI plays a whole part in assisting in generating and pulling from the outcomes from the curriculum, it allows you, the teacher, to put in your teacher's voice, because at the end of the day, you are fully aware of the students in front of you. You know them best. You know what levels of adjustment. You may not like the STEM. You may not like the responses. Whatsoever you choose, it's up to you. So what you do, you go right there and you click edit. And as I put my cursor here, you would notice simply, if I want, I can remove the word mult. I can remove that and add in whatsoever I want, but I'm just going to put it back, okay? So whatsoever you choose to do, it's up to you. It's easy. You go in there and you do your edit. Once you're finished editing, as I said, if you want to edit the responses, you don't like the responses, look, for example, here, number 1 question says, which of the following is? Next question says, which part? Do you like which? If you look at that, you can change it. It's all up to you. You have the choice to go in, and I know we have some educators on here who are so creative, and you say, no, I need something better than that. You can enhance it, and that's where we come in as practitioners. We save the changes. After you've saved the changes, and it says to you that your changes have been saved, you can choose to download it in any format that you want. Let's say I choose to download as a PDF. It goes up here. I open my file, and right before us here is my quiz. What do you see? It gives you the quiz information, the subject, the grade, the number of questions, the date you generated it. It gives you the students' instructions, what the students are supposed to do. And in this case, remember, we didn't put a time limit, but if you want to put a time limit, you can for the children, letting them know you only have 30 minutes whatsoever, or 25 minutes, 10 minutes, based on the number of questions. And here you are. It gives you the questions right there and then. It tells you how much marks you are going to get for each one right here, and gives you the answers as you go down. It gives you the scoring key, and it gives you, the teacher, the key likewise, okay? So you have everything that you want here right before you in quick time. And it is simple as that. What does that do for us? What does that do for you? So you as a teacher, you quickly present that to the children. And immediately it says, this is a quiz. We're looking at parts of speech. As you give it to them, you will see immediate responses. When we look at the next aspect of the quiz, the Pearl interactive one, you're going to see as they click, we're not doing that one today, but I'm going to say to you because I want you to be a part of the next session. As they touch a response, you as a teacher, you see it in front of you in real time. But this one, what it basically does, as you as a teacher generate the quiz, it gives you what you want. This is what you ask for, the different areas. Here it simply says to us for the cognitive levels, it gives you full knowledge, 5 comprehension, it tells you basically the different areas. In other quizzes that's generated, right next to the quiz itself, it tells you which one is knowledge, it tells you which one is analysis, which one is application, and it is right there. Now that quiz that is generated, we can go right back to our dashboard right here as I come to our dashboard. And you see I have quizzes here. I click here and it's received right there. Notice I just generated identifying different parts of speech and I can view my quiz. It is right there, ready, waiting for me. So all of the quizzes that you have generated, it's right there. I did a science one before. I can come right here and view that science quiz. Everything is right there. So your information, the quiz that you generate, you can go back to it. You can adjust it. Let's say you want to give a parallel assessment. You can look at what you've done before and compare it to the first one based on the performance, and you create a parallel assessment. And again, you present that quiz to the children. So that's it. And notice how simple it is, how basic it is. No headache. You just basically give the prompts, say what it is you want, and at the click of that button within seconds, you have your quiz generated right there and then for you. So that's one, that's the quiz maker. Now, we're going to move on to the rubric generator. How many times?
John Elvis, hold on 1 second. Just a quick, let me interrupt you for 1 second with a quick housekeeping matter. I've been receiving emails from some persons. I know you may have other persons who you know who may be trying to get in. If you registered for webinar 1, you would have received, and I think most persons there would be aware of that, you would have received an email inviting you to this webinar and also reminding you of this webinar. So please, if you know any colleagues who are having difficulty getting in, please ask them to check their emails and to look for the reminder for this webinar, and they would be clicking on that click to join link. And there's also a password that's in it's just a 5-digit password, 6-digit password, numbers only. They will use that. Each link is unique to the individual person. If persons did not attend webinar 1 and they're new to the webinar series, then they would have received a link through what I shared through the support officers and also other persons. That link would allow them to be able to register. And once they register, they would be granted access to this webinar. Unfortunately, the only reason why this is happening this way is that in our last webinar, we did not have the facility to be able to accommodate all 597 attendees. And we wanted to accommodate as many people as possible this time, which is why we're using a different webinar setup, which can allow up to 1,000 persons to attend. So sorry to interrupt you, Jonelle. I just wanted to just ask our attendees to please share the word, have your persons to check their emails, or use the link that was provided if they received it, and they can also register and join. Thank you. Over to you, Jonelle.
Okay, thanks, Glennon. Thank you for that little break. It was much needed. So now we move into a rubric generator, another beautiful tool. How many times we give students projects and or assignments or presentation, whatsoever they have to do, and we have to go online and search for a rubric that we think might be compatible enough with the assessment that we were giving. Here, within this beautiful platform, again, we are presented with the opportunity to create rubrics. And the beauty of this in creating rubrics, because we all know whenever a rubric is created, it should at least be created with the students so we can get the students input into this rubric before they begin the assessment, the assignment, whatsoever it's given, so they know exactly what criteria they need to look at whenever they're doing their creations, their projects, their presentations, or their portfolio, whatever they're looking at. So again, let's take that walk through. Now, here, we can choose to select, well, I had some pre-populated areas here, whatsoever it is. So in this case, let's keep it simple. At grade 4, weather instruments. So let's say we're going to we want students to create weather instruments and present on so the mini project is creating weather instruments and present on it, all right? So creating weather instruments. So that's what we're doing. So what type is it? Are we going to do a presentation? Are we going to do a project? Is it right? And you notice here, all bases are being covered, even down to your creative writing, so the language. And may I pause here for a moment? So many times we give so much paper pencil assessment, but this is also presenting us an opportunity to come up with authentic assessments. And in creating this authentic assessment now, we have opportunities to create the right rubrics to assess. So it's a little mini project that they're going to have. We select the project. Let's say this now we go into science, and the grade level, we selecting again, it's grade level appropriate. So what are the objectives? Students should be able to create a weather instrument and present on it. Simple, simple, simple. So that's our main thing. Now, are there specific requirements? You can include specific requirements if you so wish. And what might be the specific requirements? If you may be looking at the things like the creativity and every other thing that comes in, the constraints of, or, as it says for this assessment, whatsoever it is, you may basically want, because there might be some added things that you may just want from the children when they're doing it. For, let's say, its ability to function, its durability, and all of those kind of things. Whatsoever it is, you can plug that in there, and once you plug it in, it's up to you. Now, how much levels you want? Is it 3 levels, 4 levels? It's just simple. Let's keep it simple. So it's 3. So they're presenting on a project, they're presenting on a weather instrument. So of course, we want to know that they have the knowledge of the thing. They have the content knowledge. They should be able to communicate the information. They should be able to present at least. So you can fill out any of the areas here. If it is group work, then you want to click on collaboration. Let's see how creative they are. So whatsoever it is you're looking at, you can choose the different areas that you want to focus on. And again, this is simple as it gets. What do I do? Generate rubric. Again, it takes a couple seconds. Note well, we are creating a rubric for that particular assessment. And here we are, right in front of us here, your rubric generated. We have 4 different levels. Criteria is, well, 3 we selected, sorry. So you have it's excellent, proficient, developing. If you want to put 4, it's up to you. If you want to change the levels, it's all up to you. So here we had the content knowledge, demonstrates understanding of the key concepts, clarity and effectiveness of communication, effectiveness of presentation delivery, originality and creativity of the weather instruments, adherence to project guidelines. So whatsoever it is, simple rubric. Now, you might say, I'm not too satisfied with that. So I'm going to edit the levels. So instead of excellent, I'm going to put very good, good, satisfactory. So you just click on the different areas, change whatever you want. Again, you save your changes. So while yes, this has been presented to us like this, again, you can edit the levels. Likewise, we can add a criteria. So if you notice one of the criteria, okay, it's not enough, we can click on add, and down at the bottom is going to populate for you. Additionally, we can move them up or down, or I want to edit what's happening here. So this one here is the maximum is 15, but I don't want all of that. I want to change it to 10. I want to change it to 5. I want to change it to whatsoever. You can change all of the description here, and you can comment in the description. If there's anything else that you want to add, you add it, and you can do it for every criteria. It's up to you. You go right there and then, and you click save. You save your changes. What happens? So after you've done all of these changes, let's say you want to print it or save it. Okay. So let me cancel off this here. Here is your rubric right there in front of you. You save your rubric. Are you seeing the rubric? Just all right. It's right there in front of you. You have it in quick time. You as a teacher, you have it. The students have it. They go, they create that weather instrument, and they look at the criteria, and they know exactly what it is they're grading. For all of us who've gone through the process of higher studies, whenever we are given our assignments, that's one of the first things we get. We look at excellent column, because we don't look at the other columns. We look at the excellent column, and we do our assignment and our projects, whatsoever it is, right along the line of excellent, and we meet our deadlines and we present. Let's ensure that the students also get the same. So that's one of the most, that's one of another amazing tool that we have here, the rubric, the assessment rubric. Easy to generate, easy to manipulate, easy to change, just enough for the grade level. And as I said, just enough for the grade level. Look at the things here in each criteria, under each level. You notice it's not a whole set of writing. Remember, it was a grade 4. If the word comprehensive might be too much for them there, we can change the word comprehensive. Remember, we can edit. So when they read through the rubric themselves and you go through it with them, they have a very clear understanding. They have a clear understanding. Now, so let's now go back to the final aspect, and data. I love data. I love data. And the whole
Now,
aspect of,
let me let you catch your breath for a second, Janelle.
all right, I am
Take a
clear
sip,
on.
take a sip of water. And I just want to chime in and say that one of the reasons why we have the ability to be able to edit what the Learning Hub generates at the end is that we want to ensure that we keep the teacher as the expert in the room. The platform is meant to be an aid. It's meant to assist with some of the, and I don't want to use the word mundane, but I'll say it, with some of the more mundane and tedious tasks of teaching. But at the same time, we always need to understand, and we said it in the last webinar, that the teachers are the experts in the room. So editing, as Jonah says, maybe for a particular grade 4, the language of your rubric may be a little high, or so on, you can go in and you can adjust it before you actually lock it in and use it. All right. Over to you, Jonah.
Thank you for that consolidation there, Clendon. Wonderful. Data analysis tools. How many times we give assessments and we collect the data, and all we do with that data, we say to our parents and to the students, you got 25 out of 30, and that's about it. We leave it there. But data can go so far in the whole aspect of teaching. Remember, in education, we are reflective practitioners. So we should consistently reflect on our practice, not only when we teach a particular lesson or a particular concept, but even when we assess. We take the data, we analyze the data, so it can help us understand where our students are and where we need to take them. Data right here, as I'm going to show you, you can quickly take that data and do some quick action research right there and then in your classroom. So I'm going to just quickly carry you through 2 tools. All right, 2 of the tools that we have here. The rest, I'm going to leave them up to you. You are going to go into them, and you will play around with it to see how much it can help you. We are going to look at the grading distribution. where we look at the mean, the mode, the median, standard deviation, and understanding the whole aspect of grading patterns. So what do we do? As it says here, let's get started. Now, here in front of us, we have this blank file. If you notice here, there is a sample template. So once you click here, it's going to download that sample template. In this one, it's going to only give you one set of data, but I created one where you have multiple data sets. All right, I added some different subject areas. So you download your sample. When you download it, you save it. And note well, I want you to pay attention here. It says support CSV, XLS, XLSX. That's the way you save your files. That's the only files this platform will accommodate. So I want you to be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. So what do I do? So we've saved the file. So we've downloaded. I'm going to browse, of course, just like you do ordinary browsing, just like when you are attaching an email, same thing. And here I am going to go into grading sample. So I click on my grading sample, I open, and right there in front of you, notice here, I have the name. I didn't put the name, but just the student name. I just name him ABC. We have language, math, science. What this is going to say to us is going to tell us to select a column to analyze. Let's analyze a column. So let's say I go into science. So science is highlighted like green or so, thereabout. After I've selected that area, it's going to say to me to analyze it. So analyze the data. What do you see in front of you almost immediately? A chart showing the different grades. But at the top, it says to you, we have 30 students. It immediately gives you the mean. Notice how quick that was? You assess, you give the quizzes, you give the tests, you give whatsoever, you pull down your grades, you put it into your platform, you have it there on your file, you save it. All you need to do is to upload that. And it gives you this immediately. I know in your Excel file, some of you have your formulas and all of that stated in it already, so it gives it to you. But hey, it gives you your mean, the median, the mode, the minimum score, the maximum score. How much more do you want? Right there and then. But not only that, it gives you a graph that shows you how the results will look. But one of the things I love about this, it doesn't just leave you blinded like that. It says I can give you some insights into the performance of those students. So let's see what it says, performance insights. So you click on performance insights, it's analyzing the data. And you scroll down, and what does it say? It gives you about the standard deviation. It indicates a significant spread in your students' performance. All right. It gives you the variation. It gives you the score range. It says the lowest score is 18, the highest is 99, showing that some students are far below the average, whilst others are excelling. It shows that there's a gap that affects classroom dynamics. It identifies struggling students, celebrate high achievers. It tells you how to go about doing it. All right. It says focus on the students scoring below 58, which is the mode, to provide additional support. So right there and then, bam, you have that analysis. Let's look at another set of analysis. It says teaching adjustments. So, hey, now I have that data. What kind of adjustments do I need to make as a teacher? What do I need to do? It says here, it gives you the average performance. It gives you the spread of scores, the mode, the median. And it says, focus on the 10 students who score below 60. Targeted interventions. It says, organize small group sessions. Adjust your assessments. Teach study strategies. Ready? Is this for real? You see all of the things it's giving you. So it didn't just tell you that the child or the students were under a particular area, but it gave you different methods or different things that you can do. Peer review, those who were performing well, and how to peer and do all of that. So it goes beyond just some grades in front of you and quickly grade concerns. So here, grade concerns. So it says, you've shared the analysis. Let's do a breakdown. Again, it talks about the mean and the mode and all of that. And he says, so let's focus on those below, all right? Assess if the tests are fair. So note well, review assessment methods. And one of the things it says, let's assess to see whether or not the tests are fair and aligned with what has been taught. You remember a while ago when we looked at, and you see how they are all interrelated, when we look at the quiz generator, I said you only assess what you teach. So if you taught only at the knowledge level, you cannot assess at the synthesis level. So you need to now go back into that assessment to see whether or not the questions that I gave to the children, they were at the level at which I taught. Beautiful piece of assessment right there and then. So that is what this is going to give to you. Now, I can go back here now and I can create another analysis using the other sets of data. But I want to quickly do this one here, equity analysis. When you think about equity, we want to think about demographics, we want to think about gender, we want to think about all of those things. Again, there's a sample template which you will download. I've already downloaded one. So you just click download, you open it up, and you look at the data. So I'm going to browse here, and I'm going to go for equity sample, which I'm going to open up. And once it's there, it's going to ask me to select some columns. So we have the grade and we have the demographics, male, female, urban, rural. So let's say I say grade here for this column. And in my next column, I say demographics. So I highlighted all of these columns. What do I do? So it's right there. I go and I say, let's analyze my data. Quickly, just at a glance. Again, it gives you the chart, what the chart is going to look like. Male, female, the average, right? The median, and the mean. It gives all of that to you. It tells you how the rural is performing versus the urban. It gives that. So again, we have schools that are in communities. So how are these children in this village performing versus the children in this village over there? Now, what are the implications for that as a teacher? If you notice there's a consistent pattern, so then is it that something is not happening, something is happening in this community versus that community? As I said, quick action research. You can do your research into it and see what's happening, to see what kinds of intervention you as a class, as a teacher can do, you as a school, the ministries of education, whatsoever we can do. So the data is there. So here it presents to you, it tells you the counts of rural, how much male, how much female, again, and all the different stats that we're looking at here. That's the stats that we uploaded. But you know what? Let's click on this here, performance gaps. Again, the AI generator here, it looks at your data and it analyzes your data for you. It tells you about the performance of your males, their geographic performance, rural versus urban. It tells you about targeted support for females, how to engage males positively, how to assess the rural versus the urban curriculum needs. Come on, what more can we be asking for? You have teachers, there are so many things that we can pull from this here. We go to equity concerns. All right. And again, it analyzes the data right there and then for you. It says rural students, the mean score is 83, which is relatively strong. The urban students is 81. It's not far apart. All right. It's just slightly lower. All right. So it says, while both groups are performing similarly, urban students are slightly beyond than rural students. So what are the recommendations? What actions should we take? Now, I can go on and on and on when it comes to the whole aspect of the data analysis, but I wanted to spend some time where you would be able to pull on these different tools, go into them, see what it can do for you. One of the things I want to just highlight again, your file, ensure that it's a CSV file also, so it would be compatible with the program, so you can assess your data for you, look at the structure of the file, how the data is laid out and all of that. When you download the template, look at the template, see what is there. So at least you would be able to make sure that everything is in play. Now, I know you probably have a lot of questions buzzing in your head, a lot of comments that you want to make. So at this time, I'm just going to pause right here. I'm going to stop share. Thank you for going through that journey with me, with the whole aspect of the quiz maker, the rubric generator, the data analysis. As I said, there's so many different things that we can do with this. But I'm going to stop here. I'm going to turn back to Clendon so that we can have the flow.
All right. Thank you so much, Jonelle, for that really, really detailed look at our three tools. Before I open the floor to questions, I mean, you can always raise your hand and then we can take your questions. Um, Let me just say that in if regards to the tools are always continue to be under development with feedback from you. They work as it is now, but they can always be improved with new suggestions from you, the end user. So towards the end, I'm going to re-emphasize some of the areas on within the OECS Learning Hub where support can be engaged. But before we go anywhere next, we have a hand up. Do we have a hand up? I'm not seeing any hands. Jonelle, it looked like we did a really good job. I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand.
That's wonderful.
Um, which is okay. So we have some raised hands. All right. So I saw Gianetti George's hand up. So let me um give Gianetti. Okay, we have some hands. All right. So we'll start with Gianetti. Go ahead, Gianetti, if you can.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. I just want to say, Jonelle, great job on the presentation. You too, Clinton, excellent. It's great to see the evolution of the innovative tools. So regeneration is taking place. However, I'm not sure if I missed this feature. When you use the tool, the quiz or the test maker, the quiz maker, is there a way to input that same quiz that is generated? I noted that when it is generated, it gives you the score, the scoring, how you can score it. But if you want to be a little more advanced, is there a way for you to input the quiz that's generated into the rubric generator if you want something more complex, or the rubric generator?
Okay, not currently, but it's a very valuable suggestion. So that may be something we can definitely work on and get that working for our next iteration. But it's a really important iteration. And one of the things as well, I note that persons have also been asking for is to allow data to be shared cross tools. So
Yes,
going from your rubric into, you can feed it your questions, that kind of thing. So you have from tool to tool, being able
yes.
to share information across. So very valuable question and contribution. That is definitely something, and that's the direction in which we're heading with this platform for sure.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We also have another hand. Any other hands? There were some hands up and they disappeared. Um, do we have any other hands up? I see Q&A might have something. Uh, Someone asked, Janelle asked, will the recording be shared? Yes, definitely. I'm going to speak to that while we wait for other hands. The recording will be shared and is shared. I note that some people did not access the recording the last time. They were having some difficulty doing so. I will show you how to access the recording before the seminar is up. So the recording will be shared, yes. Amanda asked, can the analytics work with scores other than percentages? I think those were they percentages that we had, Jonelle, or were they raw scores?
These were raw scores, but they were all, well, you could basically see the percentages because they were all out of 100.
Yeah. Okay. They currently work with raw scores. I think it might be enabling it to work the other way around, with percentages. So that might be what we need to look into, activating and ensuring that it works. Just a disclaimer on the analytics. The analytics is can be expanded, way past what we currently have available. Um, in terms of the level of analysis that can be done, we've only begun to scratch the surface. So that is one of the tools that is on the horizon for significant expansion. Has expanded by leaps and bounds, our quiz makers and bounds. I think the analytics part of it, we're definitely going to focus some attention in getting to be able to do a lot more than what you currently saw tonight, including working with raw scores, working with percentages, etc. And also in the analysis that it provides with the AI tools. Because although John was just clicking some of the prompts that the built-in prompts that existed, you could also type in your custom prompt to be able to get other targeted forms of analysis with the tool. Judy asked, what about table of specs? I'm not sure if I missed it. So table of specs was not built into our Learning Hub, but it can be generated with one of our AI tools within the hub. Okay, so particularly if you look at your pool, there is your pool AI feature, which can help you with doing that, built in as a part of the generation of the quiz, or no, that part was not included. So maybe an oversight on our part,
Glennon,
definitely something to be considered. Yes, Jonah.
let me just quickly add there. While you may not see a defined table of specs, but in the quiz generator that we presented on, it gives that opportunity to select questions across the different levels. So then what it allows, therefore, you as a teacher, as I said, you've taught, you have an idea as to the different levels you want to assess. So right there and then in the quiz maker, you can select across the different cognitive levels, and there and then it actually basically pulls out for you semblance of a table of specs.
Okay, thank you, John L. Amanda said, I don't think we can if you wish to ask a question, all you need to do is raise your hand and I can allow you to ask your question. So I have Tamara who has a question. Go ahead, Tamara.
This is not really Tamara Clendon. I have been struggling to get a link, and
Good evening, Royston. How are you?
yes, I am absolutely fine. Jonel, excellent job. You certainly have been a driving force behind the hub, okay, and in behind the scenes, giving the advice and getting us to this point. I just want to stress what Jonel mentioned about the table aspects. That sometimes you really don't want this thing. The table aspects can actually be how would I put it? It might be an impediment for some teachers. They don't want to go through all of that. But the way the quiz maker is designed, you actually build in your table aspects when you are developing this quiz, like Jonel said. What I want to suggest, Glendon and Jonel, is that within the output of the quiz maker, we have a page that actually lays out the table of specs for the teacher in case they want to make a reference to this or produce this in their scheme of work or their reporting, etc. But Jonel, you are very right. The way it is being you develop the quiz does
Okay.
force the teacher to think about cognitive depth everything, and that's a table of specs being developed right away. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Royston, for your clarification. I'm going back. I'm not seeing any. Okay. Before I go to the hand that I'm seeing up, let me go back to the Q&A. Is there an option for pictures in the quiz? So when we get over to the interactive quiz maker, in our next webinar, when we look at our content maker is a really all-encompassing tool that allows you to create interactive quizzes, interactive videos, interactive many things. You will see that there is an option to include pictures in that one. This one provides you with your questions, and it also provides you with the breakdowns of your cognitive areas, etc. Let me go over to the hands. I also have Jamelia. Go ahead, ask your question.
I think my question has actually been answered. I was just about to ask whether you are able to input graphs and pictures when you're actually generating the quiz, when you're editing, but then I think you just answered that question. Additionally,
Correct.
I think I may have missed something out, where you had the analysis of students' performances. I noticed that you just said you had, you didn't have any names, but you just had A, B, C as indicators. I wanted to find out, is it a case where as teachers you are able to input the list of students with their scores, or do you have to go ahead and individually do that when you are about to analyze your results?
So in the data that you would put in, your students' names would be included. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, or are you asking whether there's an area where you could input all of your students' information into the system, into the Learning Hub?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, the latter part. Is there
Okay,
an area where you could get
creating
that
a
done?
class. Right.
Yes.
There is a class feature, creating a class. And that feature is also available within the Learning Hub, where you can actually go in and create a class. So it may be that maybe in probably our last webinar, we may have to jump in and maybe add that to what we're doing for our final webinar, creating a class and being able to move with that in the grand scheme of things. But yes, there is the create a class feature and apply quizzes and quiz results, etc., and so on, and manage within the class. But that would require a lot more time than we have today. But yes, to answer
Okay.
your question, yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Let me go back to the Q&A. In the rubric generator, can the assignment types be combined like presentation and projects? In the rubric generator, one of the features of that is that it allows you to be able to select only one assignment type at a time. So if you wanted to change the assignment type, you would have to go and do a regeneration. You would not be able to select more than one assignment type at a time, unfortunately. I'm guessing that some persons are thinking there may be value in that. But yeah, the focus really is on creating and assessing and creating a rubric for one assignment at a time. Any hands? No. Are the higher order questions given appropriate score? I don't know if you want to raise your hand so I can have you to clarify your question, David, or if Jonel understands the question.
I think I have an understanding of the question because across the different levels, Glendon, the higher order questions, you would give it a greater score, right? Because of what it requires of the student. Now, this is where the teacher comes in. And remember, I said when the quiz is generated, you can go and edit. You can edit the scores. So, for example, a multiple choice is given 1 point, whereas the open-ended question in the quiz, I think it also probably gave 1 point or 2 points accordingly. I can't remember which one. But you as a teacher here, you can go in, generate the questions, look at the questions, look at the different levels, and if you believe that more marks, and remember, you can adjust the marks. So if you want to score out of 20 or 30 or accordingly, you adjust the marks. So for the higher order questions, you as a teacher, you'll do your breakdown, your analysis with the response, and you know how you're going to award your marks based on your mark scheme, how you would award your marks. So of course you can make that kind of adjustment. All right, so I hope I add some clarity to that there. Glendon, I just quickly want to address another question I saw. Someone was asking about the data analysis, item analysis. When we look at in the next webinar, when we look at the the poll interactive quiz, it speaks to that clearly. So as the students respond, you as a teacher sees it, you see it quickly. So item number 1, you would see the percentage or the number of students who got item number 1 correct, item number 2, item number 3. It gives you a clear breakdown, so it tells you which item that you need to work on. But later on in another webinar, you're going to get more insights into that.
Okay. And then two questions. The last two questions are actually related to each other. And it pertains to the quiz being generated as a PDF. And can the quiz be saved as an editable document so that a teacher can insert a picture if desired? I think there is value in it, although I think one of the things that we wanted was to be able to okay, so generation of the quiz as an editable Word document is possible. I think one of the things we wanted really was to be able to not just provide the questions in a Word doc format, but to allow the quiz generated to have information and insight into the types of questions generated and how it pertain to the selections you actually made. But downloading it as a Word document, yes, that's definitely something that can be done. Although in the interactive quiz maker, you would get more allowance and leeway for creating more of those more better graphically designed structures for quizzes. But for this, that can definitely be enabled very quickly. But yes, and if you notice, even the way that the text is aligned, it looks more like a notepad generated text, which allows you to be able to copy and paste the parts you want. But yeah, we can enable a Word document feature that allows you to then download a Word document and then put in your pictures. But the impetus for us was really to create a tool to be able to structure your assessment in a more targeted way, to be able to see what your questions are based on the selections that you've made, whether those questions are actually aligned with the selections that you've made, etc. So it provides you with more information than just a bunch of questions. So I think I'm not seeing any more hands and any more questions. I think we're at 7:08. Wow, we did really well for time today. And I am going to go webinar. First is that in the chat, I have pasted. You can hear me, Jonah? Okay,
Yes,
so
I'm
in the
hearing you now.
chat, I've posted.
I'm hearing you now.
Yeah, I think my internet connection is getting fed up with me. But yeah, I've pasted two links. One is for our form, our Google form. I think I will share my screen for this one. So let me just share my screen. Right. So we always like our evaluations. We like to know how we're doing. Our students like to know how we're doing, and we also like to know how we're doing as well. So we have our evaluation for webinar 2 for session 2. So please go into our form and tell us how we did for this webinar. We will be having one after each webinar, and it's a way of improving or knowing how we can improve for the next one. In addition, we also have our webinar page. So our webinar page can be found. Allow me to although I pasted it, Clendon. Our webinar page can be found at the second link that I put into the chat. And that link will take you to this page, which is our OECS Learning Hub webinar series page. You don't have to log in to get access to it. It is a publicly available page. And it provides you with information about our webinar series, what you can expect to gain from the webinar series. And also it gives us a breakdown in terms of what each particular webinar is about. So as we see, our latest session is our innovative tools 2, which is assessment and data tools. We just looked at that. And on that page also, a lot of people have been asking, and if you didn't get my thank you email after the webinar 1, you can access your recording right here. So you can actually click on this link here, which takes you to the YouTube webinar recording. You can play that, get a full handle on webinar 1. And if now some persons attended webinar 1 and they didn't do our extension activity, only 3 persons, even provided us with some of their experiential information. And our extension activities after each webinar are basically just to allow you to use the tools and share your feedback. So choose one innovation tool, the lesson planner or the lesson reviewer, use the tool independently, reflect, you record your experience. We even give you the opportunity to upload a video if you wanted. Share your experience. And you can do that in this form right here. And that was for webinar 1. And in case I did it too quickly, let me show you where you get it. So you go to the webinar page and you scroll down to this green bar here and you see extension activity. Or if you want to exercise your fingers, you can keep scrolling and it is right here, session 1 extension activity. Of course, for webinar 2, we want to make sure that we keep that flow going. So for session 2, we also have an extension activity. It's right here, okay, where we ask you for a couple things. Now, let me see if it's in my slideshow. Right. Essentially, we're asking you to choose one assessment tool that could significantly impact your role in education. Sounds like homework, eh? Create an action plan to use or share this tool in your school within the next 2 weeks. And the action plan is not a big thing. We give you examples. The digital assessment tool I plan to use or share is, I will implement or support this by, and I will know it is making a positive difference when I see. So that's a nice little, paragraph or two. And then you will post your action plan online or leave a positive comment or emoji on at least 2 of your other submissions. So the question, Clendon, is how do I leave my comments? So you post your action plan here. Okay. So you see full name, email address, which tool, and your experience. If you have a file to upload, you can upload it. And you will notice right below there, I decide to hold people accountable because when you upload, it's going to pop up here as a submission. So persons will then be able to, in a moderated way, respond or reply. It's not going to be instantly posted. It's going to be moderated, obviously. So we're going to look at the reply and, if it's constructive enough, then we apply it to the post. What is all this for? Really, it's a way for us to get that feeling, from our teachers, our teacher educators who are using or intend to use the OECS Learning Hub. If you still feel like you need additional help with the OECS Learning Hub, within the navigation, there is also the help link at the top here, where you will find a plethora of of help topics that you can navigate through and get yourself acquainted at your own leisure. And then you could also submit a support ticket. Okay, you can also submit a support ticket. You have videos that you can, peruse and look through. These will be updated from time to time. Okay, so I invite you to go ahead and, go through the OECS Learning Hub. Let us know what you think about it. Use some of the tools, try them out. You will not break them, I promise. And then even, as you go through and you try some of the tools, we then get input in terms of our usage statistics, who's using it, what are some of the tools that are being used more and more. And it helps us to know which tools are most valuable to keep going and which tools may actually not be, the golden tools to keep on. I don't know if I missed anything, team. Please chime in and tell me if there's anything I forgot. It's been a mouthful. Did I cover everything? Jonelle, Tennille, Selma.
Yes, I think we've covered everything, Glendon.
All right, excellent. 7:16 p.m. We have come to the end of webinar 2. I really, really am thankful for, first of all, the team that's been helping so far, John L. Mitchell, Tennille James, Selma Bissett, Keyshawn Paul, and I'm also thankful for Mr. Royston Emmanuel, who popped up and always pops up when we have our webinars to contribute. Of course, we know that he was definitely one of the primary initial architects of what you're looking at. Even as we take it from strength to strength, he's always present. And then we also have in the room our Pearl project manager, our beloved Pearl project manager, Mr. Rafa Gordon, who is also along to, take in and gain insights as well from what we're doing here. So the Pearl team is definitely on board and present. I want to thank all of you attendees. Today, the maximum number I saw was 250. I think that was the maximum I saw. Last time we had 300 max until the room was bursting. So hopefully for webinar 3, we're going to have our original number of registrants, which was, I think, 567 registrants. So thank you, participants. Keep your questions coming in. I extend my sincerest apologies to those persons who were not able to get in. We'll try to streamline the process as best as possible for the next one. Okay? So this is us from the Pearl team signing off. It has been webinar 2, assessment and data tools. Thank you for joining.
Good job, guys.
Thanks, friend. Good to have you.
I was just sweating for John L. boy. My goodness, it's yeah.
Thanks for those bricks, Glendon. They were needed.